think about what can we do when you're all worked up. There needs to be some way to get to a place where you can be present and open and curious.
Yes, absolutely. And the difficulty is that conflict has a kind of dark hypnotic power, which is the power to prevent us from being present in that way. We slip into a form of presence that feels like we are being present, but it's what we are being present for, which is to be able to respond negatively to someone's perceived negative behavior towards us, but to respond in a different way. That is really deep. Many years ago, I read a wonderful statement from the fabulous poet Pablo Neruda, who won the Nobel Prize for Poetry and was absolutely brilliant poet. And what he said was, in quotes, "Every casual encounter is an appointment." And if that's the case, what is the purpose of this appointment? Who made this appointment? What are we supposed to be talking about? And the answer to that question is the way out of the conflict. So the difficulty is we have to find ways of stopping the forward movement, the innate dynamic of the conflict. And we have some ways of doing that. There are some very simple ways, like counting to 10, that many people will use, or taking a break, or talking about something that conflict isn't supposed to creep into, the weather. And all families have ways of doing this. And it's kind of different for different families.
Also, what we have in common, right? Finding those connection points.
But this is actually a technique, a mediation technique, but we don't really label it as a mediation technique. I did a mediation involving two women who were working together. One was the supervisor, one was the employee, and the supervisor was about to fire the employee for being insubordinate, always arguing with her over everything. And their whole relationship had just gone downhill. So I came to the mediation, which was in a big corporate setting, but the room that we were supposed to use to mediate was locked, and we had to send away for the janitor to get the key to open the door. So we're sitting out in the open, and we can't start the mediation while we're waiting for the janitor. So instead I say, just innocently, "Can you tell me a little about yourselves?" And in 3 minutes, it turns out that they both came from families of more than 10 children. Guess which birth order the supervisor was? Number 1.
Yeah.
Guess which birth order the employee was?
Yes.
The baby. And as soon as they discovered this, conflict went right out the window.
Wow.
All of the stuff they were doing disappeared. They knew each other to 14 decimal points. And were easily able then to understand everything that had happened to them. They had a great story to tell people. They knew how to respond to each other and what kinds of things to say and to not say. They fell in love with each other in an instant.
I just got the
absolute instant. They were siblings. And so as soon as they saw that, and then the question came to me, well, wait a minute, how did that happen? And so I will now oftentimes ask at the beginning of a mediation, "Can you tell me something about yourselves?" And I look for the commonalities.